Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. It was a classic case of the tail wagging the dog yesterday in the ad hoc committee of parliament as General Shadrach Sibiya began to give his testimony. Sibiya so strenuously distanced himself from the 121 dockets that were seized from the political killings task team at the behest of the suspended Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, and according to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, the instruction came from the minister and went straight to the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Intelligence, General Shadrach Sibiya, who then executed that instruction or order. And the 121 dockets were then seized from the political killings task team, and plans were also made to have the political killings task team disbanded. But it was a worrying scene as I watched the proceedings. And let me tell you what worries me about it all. My worry stems from the fact that General Shadrach Sibiya has come before this commission to defend himself against allegations made by General Mkhwanazi. So Sibiya is here to mount a defense against those allegations. In other words, Sibiya would otherwise not be here had Mkhwanazi not made those allegations. So the sad thing is the evidence leader, with all due respect to him, is just not up to the task. Granted that the process, is an inquisitorial one. The idea being, to elicit evidence out of witnesses without necessarily adopting, the style of cross-examination that we sometimes see in the courts. The evidence leader just let General Sibiya go on and on and on and on and on. And I think that is where it all went wrong. Because I think the approach here should have been to confront General Shadrach Sibiya with the nitty-gritty of the evidence given by General Mkhwanazi, so as to juxtapose and put side by side those two versions. But unfortunately, it looked like the evidence leader was just going to let General Mkhwanazi go on and on and on and on. General Sibiya rather, go on and on and on and on. And on he went. Just take a listen to this.
The National Commissioner in his own statement. Now, on the 17th, they were brought, but on the 28th of March, they did a handing over. That handing over now brought the docket to General Sintumulo so that they can be distributed to serious and violent crime. It is at the time when they were taken now to General Mkhwanazi who then said, I don't want those dockets in my province. Take them to General Sibiya's office. So in my case, I never even kept any docket gathering dust in my office or locked any docket in my safe. I don't have a safe in my office nor any archive. I don't have. So it was just simply misleading the nation to say General Sibiya withdrew the docket, they called for the docket, they are not being investigated, they are sitting in the office gathering dust. They never gathered dust in my office. They were taken, as per the plan of the National Commissioner, taken to where they were supposed to be taken up until the provincial commissioner said, I don't want them. Then the next logical thing was NESCOM, they did inform the National Commissioner and said, General, the PC says he doesn't want this docket. That's when he said, oh, well, let General Sibiya make a plan. Then we put a team together to make sure that these dockets are not delayed. But for that, we cannot put a team here from Gauteng to go to KZN in a place they don't know. And then without any budget, they need to be protected. They need accommodation. They need S&T. Now, we needed to have a budget application. That's when we applied for a budget. And we applied. We did mention even in the report that the PC says it doesn't want these dockets, but they must be investigated. And then we wrote. The National Commission never responded. Up until after I left, the National Commissioner wrote a letter that says, what are the dockets doing at head office? Some of these dockets must be taken to the stations where they belong as agreed. As agreed, which means there was an agreement.
We now hear him here distancing himself completely from the 121 dockets that were seized from the political killings task team, allegedly by him. He also shifts the blame, kicks the ball down the road to say that, in fact, that Sibiya was authorized by the National Commissioner. In that way, taking the Minister of Police, Senzo Mqunu, out of the equation, so that the seizure of those dockets then has some semblance of legality behind it. He explains how the dockets ended in his office and blames General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi that after the Commissioner of Police had made a decision that those dockets be returned to their respective stations, General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi refused to receive those dockets, and a decision was then made that those dockets be kept in his custody, pending any decision to finalize what could be done with them. So this is a clear-cut way in which General Sibiya sort of distances himself away from the seizure and in fact blames General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi for those dockets not having been returned to KZN because, according to him, General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi simply just refused to take back those dockets and said they must be taken back to him, General Sibiya. And that is how those dockets ended up in his office. And he says, upon the arrival there, measures were being undertaken to deal with those dockets because he says these were active investigation dockets. He says he has no archives in his office and that he has never had dockets gathering dust in his office. So this is the take of General Shadrack Sibiya. take another listen to this man.
Yes. You see, when we say immediately, when they say disband immediately, it does not necessarily mean that close the shop now, leave everything and go. It's not what it says. We can read, we can go through this document that is drafted. Remember, it makes provision for handing, it says case over protocols, a comprehensive handing over protocol for an ongoing investigation must be established and implemented in consultation with the Divisional Commissioner for Detective Service. This protocol should include complete case files, evidence. Now, I want us to go to the previous paragraph that says accountability. Effective immediately, all investigative personnel of the indicated of the task team responsible for case docket are directly accountable to the divisional commissioner and forensic service until they are reassigned to alternative units. This personnel will remain responsible for all investigations and resources allocated to them until a formal handing over is completed in accordance with the established protocol. Do you follow, Councillor? Now, this was not immediate. The same arrangement applies to crime intelligence and other personnel who will be accountable to the relevant divisional and provisional commissioners until the final arrangement are communicated.
So Sibiya here is simply being let off the hook because, he's playing around with words. For instance, the phrase disband immediately. He seeks to explain away that to say that disbanding immediately does not necessarily mean now. There is a process to try again to shield the suspended Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, from scrutiny. Because the question that has always been on everyone's lips is, why was there this, rush to have the political killings task team disbanded? So he tries to explain away that, disbanding the political killings team immediately did not mean closing it down like one would just close down a shop. The whole thing was a process, he says. So this is a very defensive man. And he has a reason to be on the defensive. But unless we get some kind of questioning, that will sort of turn the tables, given what General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has disclosed. His appearance between the ad hoc committee is not going to yield much. I am looking forward to the evidence leader stepping aside and to see how the rest of the parliamentarians gathered there are going to challenge this version that General Shadrach Sibiya is putting before the ad hoc committee. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. Let me thank you for all the views and subscriptions and likes that I'm seeing. Let us continue the march to the 12,000 subscriber mark. Thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful day.